The race to replace John Tory as mayor of Toronto is heating up, and some names are in, some are out. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Jamil, Jivani, and Brian Lilley. Jamil, we are getting more and more names. Look, this is so important. This is the biggest city in the country. It's a budget bigger than some provinces collectively. There are big issues that the city of Toronto is facing. And the person who is going to helm the city, it's such a critical conversation. But one of the names that we heard, Mike Layton, people may be familiar with that name. His father is Jack Layton, former city councillor. He is not going to run in the next mayoralty race. Now, either he's considering maybe a 2024 or 2026 bid, I don't know. But does that change the dynamic of those that are trying to become the next mayor of Toronto?
Absolutely. I mean, the Leighton name has so much weight behind it for Torontonians and especially for those who gravitate toward the left in their politics. So I think if Mike Layton had run, it would have really lined up a lot of the sort of left-wing political machine in Toronto behind him. With him now stepping back, it's more of an open playing field. Certainly Josh Matlow being the favorite, but who knows, someone else could pop up on the left wanting to run. And that is perhaps, unfortunate for those in the center and on the right, because if the left continues to have this kind of organizing where they're waiting to see who they're going to get behind, while the center and the right are announcing multiple candidates, it could wind up dividing the vote on the center and the right of the spectrum and giving the left one person to rally behind. So we'll see who replaces Mike Layton as the favorite on the left, but it's a huge part of what we can expect, I think, in the upcoming by-election.
Brian, we mentioned Josh Matlow. He's been a long-term city councillor. He barely has anybody competing against him in his ward races, but he's arguably one of the more divisive on council. Either on the left and the right is pretty unsuccessful in getting any unity on council when he puts forward a motion, for example. But that all said, he's a good campaigner. On the other side of the aisle, as it were, we're hearing our former colleague at the Sun, Anthony Furey, is kicking some tires about putting his name in. He's going to dub himself the outsider candidate. We hear former Chief of Police Mark Saunders is still considering it. So is there room for all of these candidates in this race?
Well, there's room, but as Jamil was alluding to, do they end up splitting the vote? Look, I'm not sure that there will be one candidate of the left. There might be multiple. You can't discount Gil Penalosa, who finished second last time, is now running again already. Nobody's made it official. You can't until April 3rd, but he's out there campaigning for sure. And he got almost 100,000 votes against John Tory. So you can't discount this guy, because 100,000 votes this time, well, that could win you the mayoralty. We have low voter turnout in a major election. A by-election for mayor, you could win with not a lot. But that could also favor someone like Anthony Furey, who's definitely going to run as an outsider. Is he going to run specifically as a right-wing candidate? I'm not sure that you can win as a right-wing candidate. So he's got to run on issues that matter to a wider swath of voters. That's going to include things like crime. You can't run and not talk about crime right now. Globe and Mail says the only issue that matters in this election is housing. Yeah, housing's important, but so's crime, so's grime. How dirty the city is. And so, that could also favor someone like a Mark Saunders jumping in. Although in my conversations with Saunders, he said, look, if I get in, it's going to be about more than just law and order, given his former role as chief of police. But Brad Bradford, Anna Bilow, a current councillor, a former councillor, they're both going for that liberal, middle of the road to center right vote as well. That could just end up crowding things out. Who knows? Maybe you win with 20,000 votes at the end of the day.
Jamil, it's so critical. And the last word to you, some of the folks that are putting their name out there, one current councillor, for example, we need to look at their voting record, where they have been, what they have done in terms of, I know they vote on issues that are ward specific and they're championing their ward. This is now, the entire city So you have to look at it from a bigger lens, to be sure. And in addition to that, new strong mayor powers for whoever becomes the next mayor. So there are very real consequences to whomever this person is. Talking about voting about defunding the police is something that one of the potential candidates had done. So I think they need to have, we need to all hold them accountable. We need to question them on their record. But about what Toronto looks like in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years time, we are struggling coming out of the pandemic. We are slow to come out of it. We talk about the crime and the grime and the ongoing issues on the TTC, and it's affecting people's daily lives. So this is why this is such an important conversation. And I'm going to just give you the last comment here. There is no unicorn candidate out there that can work with all levels of government, that can get consensus at City Hall on a regular basis. But what is it? Who is it that Toronto needs?
Well, I think we have to remember that John Tory was reelected last fall with abysmal voter turnout. It was the vast majority of people who can vote in Toronto did not vote in that election at all. So I don't think John Tory's record indicates much enthusiasm for what he's been doing at the city. The two issues in my mind are taxes and law enforcement. With law enforcement, John Tory was quite bad for years. He's just now upping the police budget after the clear results of freezing that budget for years, or bad news for lots of people in the city. Crime has gone up. People are unsafe on buses and streetcars and trains. So, they've sort of turned a corner, and Bradford is an example of someone who, like Tory, bent the knee to Black Lives Matter and anti-police activists for years, now starting to come around again, but has shown that judgment can be easily skewed by whatever the sentiment is by mainstream media and these activists at the time. And then, of course, on the other side, with taxes, we've seen that taxes are going up in the current budget, and that the average middle class homeowner is paying more. So for me, I'd like to see someone with a backbone and say, here's my vision for where we are on policing, where we are on taxes over the next 10 years, and then stand firm on that and not get swayed just because the Democrats decide to push anti-police politics in the US, and that makes its way north of the border.
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, whoever can figure out getting Wi-Fi on the TTC, you're going to have my attention. Log on to Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think, and go to theTorontoSun.com. Hit that subscribe button. You're going to find more details on the upcoming mayor's race and coverage you will not find anywhere else.